maybe you don't know the story of Leonard Peltier. So Leonard Peltier is the longest held indigenous political prisoner. Today, on February the 6th, 2023, marks 48 years of his unjust incarceration when he was originally arrested in Canada. 1973 marked the beginning of a 3-year period of time on the Wounded Knee Reservation known as the Reign of Terror, and it was called the Reign of Terror for a reason. The corrupt tribal chairman and council and his goon squad, the guardians of the Oglala Nation, were attacking and persecuting the traditional people of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And you have to remember or realize that it was illegal for us to openly practice our ceremonies, our songs, speak our languages until 1978 with the Native American Religious Freedom Act. So at this time, the traditional people were being attacked and persecuted, assaulted, raped, murdered. There's over 60 unsolved murders from that period of time on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. So those traditional families, they made a call for help, and they called the American Indian Movement to come in and protect them, to protect their families, their children, their women, their elders. And answering that call, one of those warriors was Leonard Peltier. In 1975, on June 26th, there was a shootout that happened at the Jumping Bull Camp on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, where 2 federal agents came in unmarked cars, in civilian clothes, and you have to remember the context of what was going on during the Reign of Terror, that there were people breaking in, there was the goon squad breaking into homes, assaulting, murdering, and so fearing the worst, a gunfight broke out. And at the end of this gunfight, there was over 140 law enforcement officers and 40 natives that participated in that gunfight. At the end of it, the 2 FBI agents come to find out that they were agents were dead, and 1 native man, Joe Stuntz, whose death has never been investigated and no one has ever been charged with his murder. So following this shootout, there were 3 arrests made: Bob Robidoux, Dino Butler, and Leonard Peltier. Bob Robidoux and Dino Butler were both arrested, brought to trial, acquitted, and found not guilty on the grounds of self-defense. Leonard Peltier was brought to trial separately in Fargo, North Dakota, and found guilty. His charges were later changed to aiding and abetting, but if his 2 co-defendants were found not guilty on the grounds of self-defense, then who was he aiding and abetting? Himself? At the end of the day, and you can even find this in these FBI documents, they said any Indian will do. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. And that's what they tried to do, was make an example out of Leonard. That trial could go down in history as the most corrupt and unjust trial. It's been proven that there were coerced testimonies, proven that there was evidence tampering. The United Nations has called for his release. They've released a 107-point document of all of his human rights violations over these past 48 years. Almost 5 decades they've held our elder. For 5 decades. I'm 31 years old. Every breath that I have ever taken, Leonard Peltier has taken a matching breath plus more behind prison bars. The only thing that Leonard Peltier is guilty of is fighting for his people and fighting for the rights of our people. Just this past fall, as the American Indian Movement, we finished a walk from here in Minneapolis, Minnesota to Washington, D.C. We walked 1,100 miles. It took us 2.5 months to complete. We had rallies and protests along the way, and when we were in D.C., we met with the officials there, and that letter that came out of the Senate was a direct impact of that walk. That momentum, that prayer, and this movement to free Leonard Peltier can't stop. And we have to let them know in this system, in this corrupt system that wants to hold our elder, that we're not going to stop. And it's going to take all of us as Indigenous people, all of us as our allies, all of us as professionals in different organizations to step up and stand up and fight together. When we're divided, we're like this. When we're together, we're strong. Until Leonard Peltier is free, none of us are free. Thank you.